In 2016, the Zamfara state government, led by the then governor Abdulaziz Yari, entered into a peace deal with armed bandits operating communities in the state. Zamfara is just one of at least 4 states in the northwest currently suffering the scourge of attacks by heavily armed and organized non-state actors. Large areas such as Birnin Magaji, Bugundu, Shinkafi, Safe, and Zurmi have come under constant attacks by terrorists that the federal government refers to as bandits. On Wednesday, March 8, 2017, repentant armed bandits and local vigilante groups called Yansakai in Ruwantofa, Yar Galadima, and Babandoka in Maru local government area, Dan Warandaji in Safe local government area, as well as Mada in Gusau local government area of Zamfara state, handed over large quantities of dangerous arms and ammunition. These included 3 AK-47 rifles, 1 foreign-made pistol, 1,169 Dane guns, 323 locally made pistols, 54 locally made revolvers, 102 locally made multi-barrel pistols, and 22 locally made double-barrel rifles. The weapons were handed to the 223rd Battalion, 1st Brigade, Nigerian Army in the presence of some state government officials as well as representatives of the various heads of security agencies in the state. Between 2016 and 2017, over 1,000 assorted weapons were surrendered across the Northwest Zone. In a similar vein, in August 2019, Governor Aminu Masari of Katsina State directed the Secretary to the state government, Mustapha Inuwa, to arrange a meeting for him and security chiefs with suspected bandits at their hideouts for dialogue to ensure peace returned to the state. Despite these peace deals by various state governors in the region, attacks by the terrorists have continued. The Nigerian state has a penchant for resorting to peace deals with non-state actors whenever it is faced with an existential security threat. The Aburi Accord of 1967 is the first of such peace deals that fell flat at implementation. Over the years, the government has progressed into using force to deal with societal problems created by its policies. The Niger Delta insurgency that began in the 1990s as the region's agitation against the exploitation of its mineral wealth was met with brute force, beginning with the killing of Ken Sarawiwa in November 1995. For more than a decade, the Nigerian military was locked in a bitter struggle with militants from the region who sought to cripple the country's oil economy by attacking oil facilities in the region. This problem was seemingly solved by the government of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, who promised economic development in exchange for guns. More than 10 years after the much-touted amnesty program, the fortunes of the region have hardly changed. There are still oil spills arising from gas flaring, causing environmental degradation, rampant poverty, and unemployment. The region is still largely volatile, with occasional threats by so-called repentant militants to return to the creeks. The Nigerian state utilizes peace agreements when there is a lack of political will to deal with the problems that led to the conflicts in the first place. President Muhammadu Buhari has at several times instructed the military and other security agencies to flush out terror elements across the country as a means to address the growing insecurity. However, his home state of Katsina has seen some of the worst attacks by organized armed groups without the requisite will and firepower to address the issue. Furthermore, the communal conflicts across the Middle Belt and other parts of the country buttresses the point that there is a lack of political and economic will to resolve disputes between the federating units that make up the Federal Republic. There are frequent clashes between communities in Cross River and Ebonyi states, as well as Taraba and Benue states, arising from decades-old animosities that have degenerated into open conflagration. Despite peace deals brokered by Governors Gabriel Otum and Darius Ishaku of Benue and Taraba states respectively, the problem, which can be largely resolved by the National Boundary Commission, has remained and claims lives periodically. This goes to show the government's strategy in using peace agreements to kick the can down the road and buy more time without a commitment to sorting underlying issues causing the problems in the first place. The Nigerian state doesn't respect the sanctity of contracts, which is what a peace agreement fundamentally is. If you don't respect contracts, you are free to engage in the kind of short-termism that Nigeria does a lot. And that is why agreements, not just peace agreements, fail in Nigeria. And this has led to costly problems over time. The failure to respect the sanctity of the Aburi Accords ultimately led to the secession of the then eastern region of Nigeria, which led to a bitter civil war that claimed at least 3 million lives. This same habit of not respecting agreements would play out again half a century later, but this time with economic consequences as the country found itself in an international lawsuit. In January 2017, an independent London tribunal found that Nigeria was liable for $6.6 billion in damages against Process and Industrial Development, PNID, after it failed to deliver on terms agreed in a 2010 gas facility contract. The sum corresponds to over 20% of both the country's reserves and the value of its annual exports. 3 years later, and prompted by PNID looking for enforcement of the ruling, a United Kingdom court ruled that Nigeria's state-owned assets could be seized if the country refused to settle its bill, which had risen to $9.6 billion because of accrued interest. Nigeria was granted the right to appeal but asked to pay $200 million in the meantime. On August 31st, Punch broke a story about how no fewer than 33 properties owned by the federal government in the United Kingdom were identified, and some were at risk of being forfeited due to a damage cost awarded to an energy firm, Eurific Power Limited, by a London Court of International Arbitration, an action which was endorsed by a UK High Court. This had negative repercussions for the country, which came at a time when Priti Patel, former Secretary of State for International Development in the United Kingdom, called on international investors to avoid investing in Nigeria over what she called President Buhari's disrespect for international law and convention and court decisions. At other times, the Nigerian state had entered into agreements and deals that are either unenforceable or broken by the other party, usually non-state actors in this case. The peace deal with the aforementioned bandits did not last long. Despite hundreds of millions of naira paid to the terrorists, Governor Masari of Katsina finally admitted in June that the deal, which lasted only 7 months, has broken down because of breaches by the bandits, with the governor stating that the state government would no longer negotiate with the bandits because they had breached the agreement between them and government. It seems unconscionable that a governor of a state with at least 5 million people, which is regarded as one of the poorest states in the country, would disregard the dictum that there is no honor among thieves, choosing to expend scarce resources on criminals that have taken up arms against the state. Beyond the comedy, the statement, "I did not know that they, the bandits, were useless people," provides, it seems rather sad that the state governor, as well as other governors in the region who entered into similar deals either individually or collectively as a region, did not refer to historical precedents underlying such agreements. If it took renewed carnage in Faskari, Batsari, Subuwa, Danmusa, Dutsanma, Kankara, Korfi, and Safana in Katsina, Kara, Chukum, Igabi, Kajuru in Kaduna, and Sabon Birni, Sabon Rimi, and Chagari local government areas in Sokoto, for the governors to come to the realization that entering into peace deals with bandits is like applying Band-Aid to a festering injury, one wonders how many other peace deals are waiting to explode in other parts of the country, especially the highly volatile Niger Delta. Finally, the Nigerian penchant of pouring money into problems and or doubling down on unworkable and failed solutions is still a factor to consider when looking at the existence of the problems with Nigerian peace deals. On July 17th, Zamfara Governor Bello Matawali again offered another round of amnesty to bandits operating in the state, despite renewed attacks on Zurmi, Shinkafi, Birnin Magaji, and Safe local government areas by bandits, this time offering 2 cows for every AK-47 surrendered to the state. An average cow in northern Nigeria costs about 100,000 naira. That's about $260 or about 200 pounds, while an AK-47 on the black market could cost as much as 500,000 naira, about $1,200 or 950 pounds, according to the BBC. Beyond the missteps of the governor and his counterparts, it is important to note that some of these agreements are constructed with the tacit support of Nigeria's security services, who have come under heavy criticism from the public for their inability to ensure security. What is even more salient is the fact that the military is too stretched to fight multiple front wars at the same time, having been bogged down in an unending war with Boko Haram Islamists in the northeast. The military has also reported heavy casualties in their efforts to rid the country of terror elements, with the latest being an incident in Jibia local government area in Katsina, where at least 19 soldiers were killed in an explosion on Saturday, July 18th. There is an urgent need for Nigeria and its government to realize that peace deals are not the end of a problem, but the beginning of an even greater one if the terms of such agreements are not implemented. Agreements are an avenue to address underlying concerns and problems birthing existing conflicts. If the Niger Delta crisis is anything to go by, it shows that it is not enough to throw money at the problem with occasional lip service to solve problems such as the Ogoni environmental cleanup. Rather, commitment to tackling issues that brought about the problems in the first place should be prioritized and acted upon with circumspection in order to avoid the embarrassment that the Priti Patel op-ed brought about.